The opinions, viewpoints, and beliefs presented on this program do not necessarily reflect those of the management, the affiliates and broadcast partners, or the sponsors. Listener discretion is advised. Between science and ignorance, there is filler.
Good evening and welcome to Paranormal Filler. I'm your host, Wes Forsyth. I'm the guy at ihuntghost.com. I've actually written a couple things if anybody's been over there like in the last 2 months. I'm only writing like one thing a month, but still, it is worth the visit. And of course, ParanormalFiller.com is my homepage. There you can find out most things filler. I'm a little behind on updating the site, but I'm sure you all are tired of hearing about that. Tonight I do have a guest, Cheryl and Fletcher. I'm very excited to be speaking to her. She is a psychic medium. She lives in the, she's been a lot to the, you've heard me talking about my event coming up, the Farrar School in Maxwell, Iowa. So she's been there several times. She's coming on, but mainly we're going to be talking about her. But she's going to help me in kind of the build up, the ramp up, the excitement. She's going to help me sell tickets. The for the Paranormal Farrar event that's coming up September 10th. Scarefest. Do not forget, everybody, the Scarefest, the Horror and Paranormal Convention, Lexington, Kentucky. September 30th through October 2nd, and of course Scarefest Radio every Friday night, where I get to be myself instead of being. Believe me, if you've not listened, compared to Scarefest Radio, I am freaking Ricardo Montalban on this show. I am upscale. Another event. Just getting the details together. We've got a few things to tie up. Chris Sutton's in the chat room. He can tell me if I'm even saying the name of the place right. Valley Mine Lost History Museum. That's close to St. Louis. This has not been investigated very much. The reason I know that is because if you search for it on the interwebs, you won't find much. I think I saw one team that maybe had done some video there, but I was looking for pictures. We've got the entire grounds of the place. And so, you know, it's got different cabins. And I was looking, I couldn't even find Facebook pictures of these things. So this place is, as we say in the paranormal world, ripe for the pickings. But a very, very old house, 1794. Where do I have that at? I've got that here somewhere. 1749. It's even older. Huh. So stay tuned. We've got a good show coming up. And, of course, as always, Paranormal Filler is brought to you by Ken Boggle's House of Cards, tarotbyken.com.
Paranormal Filler.
Cheryl Ann, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me, Wes. It's a privilege to be on your show this evening.
It would, you know, as long as you keep that privilege bar set really, really, you know, mediocre. It's wonderful to have you. Then thank you so much, because you came on fairly short notice. Everybody, I was so worried about getting this event together at the Farrar School. I kind of let things slide and said, "Oh, I know what I'll do. I'll have guests that have to do with it." And Cheryl came through for me. Cheryl Ann came through for me. Now, Cheryl, should I call you Cheryl, or do you prefer Cheryl Ann?
I prefer Cheryl Ann. Thank you. Yes, for asking.
I'm going to screw that up at least 12 more times during the show. But
not a problem.
But just, okay, Cheryl Ann. I'm going to circle it real big here on my page. I would call you, looking at your website, and if anybody's playing the home version, Extraordinary Connections with CherylAnn.com. That is the website. And by the way, you really need a shorter URL. It's easy to spell, but good Lord, it takes a while. Google Cheryl Ann Fletcher. It's much easier. But anyway, looking at your website, seeing what you do, you are what I call a full-service psychic medium. A lot of the mediums I talk to I guess everybody specializes, but they always seem to be either into the readings more, or the investigations more, or the more psychic phenomenon. The more prediction type stuff and all that. You really seem, just looking at your website, as far as what you're putting out in front of people, you seem to take a pretty balanced approach and try to cover all the bases.
Yes, I do. In fact, coming into this gift that I carry was never something taught. It was actually a gift through a death experience at the age of 11. So when I was able to finally understand what I had, I knew that the gift that I carry wasn't just to service or take care of just the afterlife. It was also to help better people and help people understand, the clear closure on death and dying, and, to reach out to people in several facets of what my gift actually offers. So it's not just limited to one thing, not at all, Wes.
Well, let's talk about, if you wouldn't mind, tell us a little bit about what happened to you at age 11. Near death from asphyxiation. What happened there?
Well, to make a quick synopsis of what happened was, my mother, she raised 8 children alone, and I happened to be the youngest, and she would always take us to work with her. She was a motel maid at the time, trying to support a family of 8 children on her own. And she would employ us kids off and on throughout the summer, and she would take us with her to the motel, of course, to clean, help her, to stay out of trouble and help clean. I had a little friend that I would hang out with at the motel, and we decided one afternoon we were kind of bored, instead of playing with Barbie dolls and hanging out and emptying trash, that we were going to get in the dumbwaiter. And if anybody doesn't know what a dumbwaiter is, that's usually what motel maids use for a small elevator that would travel between floors delivering linen. And so we decided to get in there, and as I approached to get inside the box, she had pushed the button a little too soon, and an octagon metal bar came down on the back of my neck, and it encompassed my neck to the point where it dragged me down onto some bricks where the box would descend. It was like a hole, and as it descended with my neck encompassed in this bar, my neck was between the bar and the brick.
Ooh.
And had she not pushed the lever in time to stop it, I would not be here today, because I would have obviously been decapitated.
So now your gifts started manifesting very soon after this, or
Oh my goodness! This happened in the month of August, and really nothing really transpired until I had what I thought was a vision or a dream. This would have been more toward the end of November, December. And I had this vision that my brother Pat was going to pass away. I could see him in a coffin. And at that time, of course, when you're small like that, you think you're dreaming. So you just naturally tell your mom, and your mom says, "Oh, go back to sleep. You're just having a nightmare, blah, blah, blah." Well, it actually did happen. My brother did commit suicide, and he did tell me, by the visions that I was getting, that's what he was planning to do. He was planning to commit suicide, and I had told my mom he was going to die, and he did.
So so the original manifestation was through, Dr. Kimberly would tell me to say theta. In other words, something in a semi-dream state. So it came to you that way. Now, when I've already told you, kind of gave you a heads up. I like to break mediums to you, because to me, the process of a reading and the process of a paranormal investigation, at least in my mind, seem like two very different things. Now, sometimes, we'll get into that as far as how different they are for you. But that happened, then kind of take us through the progression of your gifts, because when did you start sensing things about people? When did you see your first ghost?
Well, my actual first ghost was here in Lincoln. We used to live in a house that was fairly haunted. And I kept hearing footsteps going up and down a set of stairs that was actually closed off. And I kept telling my ex-husband at the time, I said, we're living in a haunted house, and I would be, I could hear this. And then there was a room up front in the house that I would sit and rock our newborn, and I could see the apparition going down the hall and then going in through the door and then going up the stairs. I knew it was going up the stairs because obviously it was making the stepping noise up the stairs. So that would have been, oh my goodness, it would have back in like 1989 is. That would have been the actual first.
Okay, but that took a while because you were obviously marriage and breeding age.
Yeah.
So, now what happened did the other gift start manifesting between there when did you start doing your readings? Let's just throw that out there.
There. Back in 2004, ironically, we had an acreage in Grand Island, Nebraska, and my ex at the time was involved in theatrical. He did plays outside for the theatrical community in Grand Island, Nebraska. And he had told everybody in his theatrical friends that he was doing this theater stuff with, that, his wife was very gifted, a psychic medium. And what was really cool about that was that they all were so interested and intrigued that they all, quite a few of them, came back to the property after the show. And this was early evening, and I kind of knew that they were coming, of course. That a lot of people were going to be showing up, and sure enough, Mark came in and said, well, there was going to be quite a few people coming back to the house to hang out, and several of them wanted to be read, and I said, oh, sure, not a problem. So that's where it really started sticking.
So you just decided one day to read people on a dare. Is that pretty much what it sounded like?
And you know what? It's just really crazy because I didn't instigate it. I mean, it was more Mark. He's always been my advocate, always out there promoting me, and he just told people at the time, you got to come and see this. This will just blow your mind. Well, so yeah, I ended up with, I believe I read about 20-some people that night. So it was pretty cool.
Well, I mean, whatever works.
Right.
Well, the reason that is doubly funny to me is because now I like to think that I have some gifts. I'm told that I have some gifts, and there are some things that I can accomplish in the metaphysical world. But if I even mention if I'm at a Paracon or something, I even mention that I'm a sensitive. I'm somewhat, I can turn on my empathic abilities. People say, "Give me a reading," and I can't do. I tried. I have tried. I can look at a deck of tarot cards and I see a deck of cards. That is it. I have tried doing, and so that particular part of the psychic phenomenon escapes me thoroughly. The now in the readings, now do you just wait for spirit to speak to you? Do you use any tools? Is there anything that you use to how does a typical one-on-one reading go?
Well, typically what happens is I will touch a person. I do a lot by, of course I ask if I can, touch that individual by their hand or their shoulder or whatnot. And the very second I touch that person, I can already see not only what they've gone through, but what they're going through and why their life, the things that they're going through in their life at the current time, why that applies to what they've been through and what they're trying to get through and why they're trying to get to where they're trying to go. A lot of that has a whole blended effect as to how, where they're going and what they're doing and why things are not working out so great for them. So when I touch that person, I can see everything that they've been through. And it's all within a super, super quick flash. And people say, well, Guy, how do you stop or how do you decipher it when you see it? I said, well, for me, It's like a quick mini movie. I mean, I can see glimpses of their childhood, the things that stand out, the traumatic things, or things that were super important to them, or something that, happened to them that they've carried for way too long because they didn't understand it. And then it'll flash into what's going on in their life at the current time, to things that are needed attention. And then after I read that in a flash, then all of a sudden, boom, there it is. This is why things are not going so great, or what they could be doing to make their life better. Then I can see that too.
Now, just a little side shoot there. Okay, it doesn't. It's not atypical. You touch the person. I think. Now, is it really the touch, or is that more of a tactile permission to poke around in their soul, if you were?
I want to say that that's probably both. First of all, when I touch them, I get that flash, whether I like it or whether they like it or not. But in that flash moment, I'm looking at them in their eyes, and what I'm getting in through their eyes is their acceptance of what I'm doing, which gives me the authority or the license to be able to continue. And I never touch anybody without permission, or I never go into that without their permission.
Right.
Because that type of person to just bring it up on someone unless they have a medical issue that they need to know about.
The reason I kind of ask it that way, a lot of the things that I teach people to do in spiritual protection and similar topics, I actually teach the movement. In other words, it's the intent is one thing, but I find that the intent is so reinforced by pantomime, by making some physical movement to represent what I'm trying to get them to do. And so to me, touching in that case, getting asking someone's permission, and that opens that makes them mentally open that door.
Yeah, receptive to it, sure.
So now the other part of that question is, now does that ability, okay, because I'm a touchy guy, not with people. I'm no restraining order required, ladies. When I go into a haunted location, I have to touch things. I have to, touch, prefer things that are made out of wood, but I can steel, concrete, whatever. But to me, to tune into a location, that's how I do it. I do it through my hands. So I was wondering, does that carry over into your other areas of mediumship as far as wanting to touch things?
When I do murder cases, which I'm currently working on now, or if I do a case of a missing and presumed, which I have done too, yeah, it really does help to have their personal items to touch and hold, so I can not only experience what they went through, but also understand what led up to it and why it happened. For, to be able to do that, with the accuracy for especially authority figures like that, that really does help to have those items. But when it comes to ghost hunting, that's a whole different ballgame. I can be driving, for an example, to a location, and within a mile before the location, I'm already getting everything. I'm already getting the feelings of the smell. I get the vision. I get the sickness in my stomach. I get the headache, and I get all the senses that alert me to what's already going on in the location that I'm approaching. So it happens for me quite a distance away.
That's not unusual. I know in my case, like I said, I touch things when I get there, but I rode all the way to Maysville with the smell of Lilt Home Permanent in my nose. So I do know that sometimes I can tune in from a greater distance, but I still, when I get there, I guess you could, that might be my tactile thing. It may not even be necessary for me to do that.
Your antenna perception, the way you receive stuff too. So, that's a unique piece of who you are.
Now, in your readings, now, of course, you also apparently do the traditional does my grandmother have any messages for me type readings. First, do you make the delineation? Do you experience spirits, meaning our crossed loved ones, etc., differently than you connect to or experience the ghost, the left behind stuck spirit, or whatever you want to define it?
Absolutely. And let me tell you how that works for me. When I do a reading for someone that needs to connect with somebody who's passed, that should have been signatured for me many, many years ago and registered, because I've always said, when I've said this for 45 years, the people that leave us, that have passed on, our loved ones, they always leave us with more they want to tell. They have a story. Everybody has a story. And when I connect with a recent passing, that's all they want to do. That's all they want to do is get their story out. Things that they want to say before they passed, that they even knew that they had passed. But the ghost is a different story, way different for me. They have been long gone for a long time. And I generally get a lot of people from the 17, 18, and 1900s that have been gone for quite a long time. They have more stories about war or about Indian, fighting Indians, back in the day. They have older stories. But the people that, that I read that have had someone who has just recently passed is more about, making sure Susie or Renee or whoever, they want to tell a message to come through. And that's kind of the difference is for me. But, everybody's a ghost that has passed. Everybody's a ghost. And to me, when I work with and for the afterlife, it's the newer ones that have passed, the ones that have got a lot more to say. And they just, once they get a hold of me and I get a hold of them, it's just like they never want to quit talking. But the older generation, they just want to get a little bit out and get it over with and move forward. So.
Okay, well, I'm trying to do all the math on that. So when you sit down with somebody and they, let's say, I tell you what, let's get into, let's go theological here. Do you in your paranormal view, in your worldview, when someone dies, then you made it clear that sometimes they stick around briefly because they're not done. They didn't say goodbye to so-and-so.
Right.
Then, but the normal process is for them to move on to the, quote, better place, correct?
Right, exactly.
Okay. Now, if somebody sits down to the table with you and they want to talk to somebody who has moved on to that better place, are you still one of the people that can make that connection?
Absolutely.
Okay.
They usually leave something behind. Absolutely. There's always a story left behind. I don't care how long they've been gone and how long they've passed. There's absolute communication, no matter what. No matter what.
Okay. So other than I almost want to say the quality of the story. I think ghosts are generally fairly mundane and boring. But other than the quality of the story, your experience as far as how they feel, is that any different for the tableside reading versus the haunted house?
Oh no, I know. The feeling that I've always picked up is they're fake. Okay. What I've picked up is when they pass, everybody's behavior goes with them. If you were out doing robberies or if you were out doing something you shouldn't have done and you happen to die at that time, your behavior travels with you no matter what. So when I get to talking with either, I don't care who it is, whether it's a ghost who's been gone for a long time or a newer person who's been passed, if there's a behavioral issue, you better believe their feelings are going to come across in the same behavior that they were dealing with at the time that they had left. Mm-hmm. So their feelings are never, I mean, everybody has different feelings. Of course, we all do, even when we're living. But, their feelings do come through, absolutely. Say, for an example, with dealing with a murder case, the person who, happened to die during the murder case may have gotten shot. Well, if he was mad that he, got shot and he didn't finish the job, well, he's going to come through still PO'd. He's still mad. People are still mad when they come through. Sure, absolutely.
Okay. Now, let's kind of segue now into the ghost hunting aspect of it.
Okay.
So you still, I've kind of picked up that when you go into a haunted location, that you're still, that little short film strip, is that the way it plays in your mind, that you get the ghost story more so than the ones that stand around going, get the hell out of here?
Actually, I get it all. I get the ghost story. Like when I start to approach the location, I start getting the story right away. Mm-hmm. I start seeing what they went through, why they're there, why are they hanging around, why are they still there, and then of course I'm picking all that up. And when I even get there, I still get the things like, what are you doing back here? Why are you here again? I know.
See, just what I said. Most of them are mundane and whiny bitches.
Yep.
Aren't they?
They're grumpy. Oh, yeah. Yeah. They've got attitude. Just because they've passed over doesn't mean nothing. They do have attitude. Oh, absolutely.
Now here's another question I love, because I get such a... I know what my opinion is, and I get a lot of different answers on this. But a lot of people in your experience. Now, there is no right or wrong answer, because obviously if I actually knew anything, everybody else would be wrong, and I'd be the person making $1 million a year. In your experience, as far as what you feel, what they tell you, the average ghost, when you walk in, now I'm not talking about somebody recently passed. I'm talking about the guy that died 50, 60, 100 years ago.
Okay.
By the time you encounter them, have they figured out that they're dead?
I have never asked if they know they're dead. I have never, ever prompted the fact to tell them that they are dead. I have had experience where they have come across and said, yes, they know that they are passed, and they don't know why. A lot of times, that's what I get. They don't know why. Okay, well, I don't mean... Okay, my opinion is the vast majority of them know they're dead. A lot of them are in denial, kind of alluding to what you say. No, I can't be dead. Sure, I can walk through walls and nobody can see me, but, I've fallen down flights of stairs 100 times, that type of thing. But I'm always hearing, when these ghosts are hanging around, people like to say that they don't know they're dead. And see, now, okay, I think they know darn good and well they're dead. And they're just, pardon the expression, they're being dicks about it for the most part. Right. And there are a lot of them, seriously, that are like that. I've actually said things out loud like, I know you're dead. And I know you're doing this on purpose, or I know that you're smacking that, locker door on purpose because, it can get my attention because you know that a lot of people can't see you. Things of that nature, and that usually triggers and prompts a little bit more activity because they're looking for attention.
Yeah. You know what? I don't even like I'm growing out of the word attention as much as validation. I think they're...
Exactly. Well, perfectly stated. Touché.
Well, okay. I do that at least once per episode. That's probably... Sure. Everybody can tune out now because I have used my profound idea for the evening.
Thanks, bud.
Okay, let's take a quick commercial break. Everybody will be right back talking to Cheryl and Fletcher. You're listening to Paranormal Filler.
Hello, friends. Are you exhausted with life? Resent your children? Maybe your husband is cheating on you. Get yourself a tarot reading with Ken Boggle. He can provide you with the clarity, guidance, and answers you need. That's tarotbyken.com. He makes things seem less shitty.
And welcome back to Paranormal Filler. Cheryl Ann, okay, we were talking about ghost, and it's so pleasant to talk to somebody that has the same opinion of the departed that I do. Another thing on your website, now a lot of psychic mediums do this, and it's the methodology is very, very, very different. But now, one of the things you do is now if somebody's actually having a problem with a ghost, if somebody says my house is haunted, he won't let me sleep, he's throwing dishes, whatever, you do also go in and do some type of clearing, correct?
Yes, I do.
Okay. What is, for your typical ghost, without getting into any of the other nasties that might be wandering about, what is your go-to method for clearing a house?
First of all, my go-to method is, when I do a reading on the property, I find out the core of the problem, why they're even there in the first place. Mm-hmm. They always harbor, or they always hang around because either A, they have passed, and everything is in the ground. I have stated this for years. Everything's in the ground. You're talking death. Every part of our earth death has been on the ground somewhere or in the ground buried. So what's really ironic is when I read a property and there's a haunting, a typical haunting, usually somebody's been buried in the property and they're not aware of it. They're actually sitting on a burial ground or close to it. And what I usually do is I just want to do a reading. I try to communicate with the afterlife to find out why they're there. And then I ask them, what purpose do they have to be there for? Who are they looking for? What are they wanting? And once I clear that problem up and I'm able to get their story out, per se, or get the message and write it down and take the message wherever it belongs to, whomever it belongs to, or for whatever reasons in life, then I go in and I do saging. I use a white sage bundle. And I go and I start, this is my method, works every time. I start at the front door, and, I sage everything. I go from corner to corner, and I'm praying the St. Michael's Prayer along with the Lord's Prayer. And then I do that in every room and every corner, along with the property owner or the people that are having the issue have to be present with me, and we do this together. It is a very spiritual situation, and then we take it out the back door, and we cleanse all the way to the back door. We put the cleansing sage, and we wash our shoes. We pray, and we're done. And things calm down, and thank goodness I've never had to be called back to a property ever to redo a situation like that. I've been very blessed, and I feel pretty darn confident about what I do, but mine, strictly to be able to understand what is needed. All about what they need.
Okay, yeah, actually, that's very similar to what I do. I probably should do more saging, but yeah, the vast majority, I go back to, it's the attachment theory, but I don't feel they may be attached to an object, they may be attached to a place, they may be attached to a person, but you've got to, if you can drill down, and of course, being a psychic medium, you've got the inside track over people like me. But if I can figure out what it is that is making them so needy, right, and then talk them out of it, basically. Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, now to me, how do you feel sage works? To me, sage is like, I can't even think of the drug name, but it basically makes them more cooperative. I don't know the mystical properties. Me and Chris Sutton have talked about this. He leans more towards the mystical properties of it. I tend to think that it's actually, I'm sure it's obviously still mystical because they're not here, but I just tend to think it's like Valium. That's the word I was trying to think of.
Valium, yeah, like a love drug thing. It makes them just a little more cooperative.
Yeah, that's okay. Now, you have been to the Farrar Schoolhouse. How many? Several times?
Oh, only 23.
Oh, only 23. You sound like me and my local hunt. I'm just not even impressed anymore. The
3 times.
Okay. Based on now, let's start with your psychic experience.
Okay.
How haunted is the place?
Well, let's just go there. On a scale of 1 to 5, let's say 1 being absolutely not haunted and not worth your time, 5 to being extremely haunted and it's worth every second, every waking moment, every scary minute, you name it, is a 5. It's definitely a 5. Being there, like I said, this many times and having several experiences that are off-the-chain experiences, along with several events that Paranormal Seekers of Iowa and I have had there. That's my team that I work with at the Farrar. But, yeah, on a scale 1 to 5, 5 being the most haunted, yeah, absolutely. I'd give that place a 5+.
I've never heard nothing but good stories about the place, or as far as good haunted stories go. In other words, I've really never seen anybody go in and say that, boy, that was a waste of time. Every place is going to have their hot and cold nights, but
absolutely.
But it sounds like a wonderful place. Now, as a psychic, or heck, you can talk to this as a mother and regular person. The place, okay, the history of the school. Now, it was built early 1900s. So it's not like, the old one-room schoolhouse.
Right.
It's a fairly, I'll put it this way. To me, it's a modern building, but that's because, I'm 50 years old. But it really wasn't that long ago that it closed, and on top of that, it really didn't sit empty and unattended all that long.
No, it did not.
What do you think made this place draw more activity than... In my opinion, okay, let me back up. I have not been able to trace down and looking at the website, I've not read anything that there, no big tragedy. The train didn't wreck in the backyard. Nobody fell down the stairs and broke their full neck.
Nope, that's not what happened.
So the question is, what is drawing the activity to this location?
Well, let me just tell you. Back in 2012, well, let me just back up the step of past. When I met J.D. Campbell, my best friend in the paranormal realm for Paranormal Seekers of Iowa, it wasn't long after our first experience there together, which made him a total believer in psychic. He was totally, he thought psychics were totally nuts, people that were nutty. And but it wasn't until like about 6 or 7 months later down the road that I was actually in a documentary for Connor Fidel Encounters. His show. I did a documentary which included Nancy and Jim Oliver, who are the owners, and Jackie Carpenter at the time was the very first psychic there that ever saw a child in a window in the building that Jim and Nancy didn't even know existed. But it wasn't until I did the documentary where I went in and I was able to do a reading on their property long before we did many investigations. And I came out with the fact that there was a lot of mental abuse, there was a lot of sexual abuse, there was a rape amongst the staff. There was a janitor, and of course I'm not going to say his name to protect the family that I don't touch. But the janitor was one of the individuals who had some disciplinary action on the children. The principal himself was the principal from hell. He would terrorize the kids. He would make them belittle the children. He would spank. He would discipline them off the side of his office. in ways that were unimaginable, unspeakable things that he would do to the kids. A lot of it, all the ghost hauntings are from the events, the things that happened to the children that they're still pissed off about. If I could say that on there, I'm sorry if I didn't done that. But
it's internet radio. You can say a lot worse than that.
Okay, they are so dumb and so mad at the way that they were treated at that era, at that time, and nobody knew about it. Nobody did anything about it, and the reason why they linger is because they're mad. They don't understand how people could be treated so inhumanely when they were supposed to be being educated and well taken care of in a school. And, you know, with all the abuse and all the stuff that they had to go through, they're angry. That's why they linger. And the faculty, the staff, the two women that were sexually abused by staff members there, well, of course, they're going to linger. There was never a murder that I'm aware of. I've never picked up that there was a murder on the premises at all. This has all been stimulated by anger, the abuse, the sexual abuse, you name it, any type of abuse that I brought up through talking to you. That's what it's from. And ironically, Jim and Nancy went back later after the documentary had been gone over and made sure that things were accurate before they released it. And they did, in fact, talk to the prior family members that were left behind, still living, and said a lot of that was absolutely correct.
Okay. It just, of course, I mean, it's a different cycle today, but just none of it became public. It was rumors and innuendo but they did. Okay, so they actually did run it down. Now, question from the chat room. Now, of course, the dark entity, if you will, is the principal.
Yeah.
That's the one that everybody attributes most of the darker energy to.
Yeah.
What have your interactions been like with that?
What have I had with him?
Yeah. What's your opinion of him?
Oh, you want to know what's happened to me with the principal at the Farrar, which we have validation on as well as it's on film, proven. Let's see. He's not only punched me. We were in the boiler room. JD and I were before an event, and I said, I wanted some documentation that this stuff really does exist, because a lot of people kept saying, "Oh, there's no evil there." And I'm like, "Yeah, right. Right. Well, let's just show people that there is evil here." And so I was down in the boiler room, and I said straight up, because when I say it, it's like whatever I say, I know what I'm prepared for. I wouldn't do it if I didn't know it was coming. And I was standing there, and JD was filming me, and this is a clip, by the way, on Reality in Paranormal on Facebook, our TV show, that I'm standing there, and I asked the principal if he was there with JD and I, which I knew he was, if he would leave a mark on me. And sure enough, within a matter of 30 seconds, right after that, JD was filming me, and I felt the marking, a scratch mark down between my shoulder blades, go all the way down from my shoulder blades all the way down to the hips of my hips. And JD was filming it, and he took me upstairs right after it happened, and we flipped on the lights, and sure enough, JD did take a picture and just film it. Said, "Oh yeah, he's pretty angry. He's a mean one. He's got behavioral issues for sure." But then I've been scratched, punched. I've been knocked up a flight of stairs. I have fallen down a flight of stairs while investigating there, and nobody was behind me, and I did not get pushed. And I know this because I am psychic. I know what's going on. Let's see. I've had experiences there where the locker room or the lockers have slammed shut, doors slam, lights go off and on, knocking, pounding, doors, slamming in front of you. And one thing that's really super cool, we were there one night, JD and I and a few friends, and we were investigating, and we were going up the stairs to the principal's office, and I was the last one going up the stairs, and just in a split second I heard run, but nobody else did. I heard it in my ear, run, and I'm shoving people up into the principal's office while there's a board going in midair all the way up to the ceiling and flying clear down the hallway and hitting the other side of the stairway. So it does happen. It is real. There is activity. It's huge, and I recommend it to anybody who wants to go to a place where they can get the real raw evidence on film.
Now, I want to get into the psychology here real quick. We've got just about 15 minutes left. So
Okay.
I'm always trying to, because I do crossings and clearings, I try to get into the psychology of a ghost. Now, the principle makes sense. Okay, this would have been the place where he felt the most powerful.
Right, exactly.
So I can understand him hanging around. I have not encountered a lot of ghosts that hung around a location because they were pissed off at somebody. So I'm trying to figure out what most of the ghosts. Now, of course, I am blessed. My local haunt, the ghosts hang out there because they think the place is just so damn cool.
Yeah.
So in other words, when I'm when I go to a school, for example, or any place where children hung out, I'm expecting to find ghosts that have, of course, died of a ripe old age of whatever, and decided to embrace that childhood memory. Embrace the childhood memory. But you're telling me that this is a very different phenomenon where these people held a grudge so strong that they could not let go of it and brought back their childhood.
Yes.
And I'm thinking that would be like reliving that grudge over and over. I would think that would be a painful existence.
If they can't get back at this person. Now, let me help you to understand something that's really interesting about Farrar. The principal, from what I've learned, as many times as I've been there and as many times as I've been validated with what I do there, that principal is like the gatekeeper to those children. He keeps them there. He likes to keep them there, just to torment. And what I've learned...
I just want to interrupt you. I've encountered ghosts that once they get them in there, they keep them there.
And on this principal doesn't like it when we have JD and I, going back to 2011 June of 2011 when I met JD Campbell. JD, like I said, was a skeptic and very psychologically convinced that there was not a thing called a psychic. He was thoroughly convinced that they didn't exist. Well, he was actually walking me through some readings with a group of people in the auditorium one night, and I had a little girl named Jamie approach, and I could see her, nobody else could. She approached this girl named Lori and told me to tell Lori to be aware of the bees, be careful of the bees. So I told Lori, Jamie, the little girl that's standing next to you right now, she's wanting me to tell you to be aware of the bees. And Lori's like, what? And I said, beware of the bees. And she said, oh my God, she goes, I am deathly allergic to bees. Okay, psychologically speaking, here JD is filming all this, and I have no concept that he's doing this because I'm in the middle of reading all this. And then Jamie comes through again and she tells me to warn another girl, Nancy, in the crowd about whatever it was at that time. And so, ironically, here JD is watching all this. Well, toward the end of the evening, we're in the kitchen, and I'm talking to 4 children, and it's all on film. I mean, it's all on our pages, on JD Campbell's page, on Reality and Paranormal page. I'm sitting there talking to 4 kids, and he's actually filming me. Well, when we get ready to leave the kitchen where, the kids had their meals prepared, we were walking outside of the kitchen, and all of a sudden, Jamie's following JD, and she's in this little red pajama thing, and she's carrying this little teddy bear. She's right behind JD, and she's tugging at JD, and I say, hey, stop. Turn around. Trying to get your attention. She wants to talk to you. So JD, the one who doesn't believe in psychics, decides to get down on his knees, and he sits down, and realizes that I'm not joking. And all of a sudden, on his right side of his body, it became instantly cold. And he said, to this day, he talks about this to everybody. To this day, he felt the arms of Jamie go around his neck, ice cold arms around his neck. And she was hugging him. And he said, in his lifetime, he's never had an experience like that. And that happened at Aurora. And we were able to cross Jamie over. So Jamie was able to get away from the clutches of the principal because we lured her away from him. And that was the only way she was able to be crossed over. So there you go.
I'm enjoying talking to you because I put it this way, I've heard some of these stories, but I've not heard them as described in such detail by a psychic. And I had no idea that they had validated any of this with the descendants of the people that had went to the school there. Now I'm hoping to actually get her on the show, but now I have met Nancy before. Now they live there.
Yes, they live there. They have an apartment there. Their intent when they bought the place was to redo it. Bring it back to its original schoolhouse, effect. But everything kind of stopped when they realized that they had a place that was haunted. It stopped. They kind of took notice to the paranormal, and, they've kind of opened their doors to people to come and investigate. Him and Nancy are amazing people.
Now the next question is, though, okay, now they have that apartment, they have their living space. Do they have problems in their living space?
A lot of people ask that, and they have had their experiences.
Experiences aren't problems. Seeing a shadow flit through the living room is not quite as unnerving as having the paintings pulled off your walls.
Right? They have had things happen in the apartment. They've heard noises and things like that. But, when you're living there, all the spirits know you. They come and go. And Tim and Nancy are not none to the fact, of course, that they hear this and they know they're there. Mm-hmm. So apparently everybody gets along because they don't have any real bad problems that I've ever heard of. So
okay, I was, it's what can I say? I mean, it just when I got into the paranormal, the first thing I did, and even before I really even thought about ghosts following me home, because I watch Ghost Hunters. Nobody ever follows anybody home on Ghost Hunters. But I just established my house is a no ghost zone. It is It is off limits, and I haven't poured salt in the windowsills, people. My intent, I made it very clear to God, the angels, my spirit guides, and anybody else that would listen.
Sure.
This is my living space. Now, what you do in the yard, no problem.
Yeah, your territory.
But so I was just wondering. Like I said, I hope to get them on the show to one of them to go more into detail on that. Thank you so much. We're at the end of the show. It's been just nifty as hell. I'm more excited now about going than I was because I don't look for dark entities because for one thing they tend to avoid me, but I like going in places where they are just to see if they will avoid me.
Right.
So we'll see how that works out.
I'm really excited to not only meet you guys in person, but it's kind of going to be kind of neat to see what you guys are able to get. And I'm excited to see what I'll get as well.
Well, now I will tell you, but now the kids will love me, and the reason they will love me is it's not that I have any great attraction for children. Real life children, really, they could care less about me. But, okay, because my thesis is these people died at a ripe old age, and in other words, they are adult souls that have reverted back to their childhood state for whatever reason.
Exactly.
And those are the ones that love me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's because it's the adult factor, but because I actually treat them like children, that for some reason...
You have respect for their age and what they've been through. They know that already.
Okay. I like to think of it. I'm accepting, because I got my favorite ghost died at a ripe old age, and I call her my little girl, and she so she's happy, and she's cooperative. So anyway, now you of course I'm looking forward to meeting you at the Ferrari event. Now, do you have any other events coming up or anything you want to plug before I let you go?
Well, the only thing that I would like to really shout out about is not only the PSI, Paranormal Figures of Iowa. We usually try to have like a Halloween event. We're going to be probably working on that. But also, I'm on the radio station here in Lincoln, Nebraska called Kick 96.9 News Country. And I've been with them now for over almost a year. And they're looking at promoting me having my own show for paranormal consulting on their radio show. So that's going to be kind of a cool thing up and coming that, I'd like to shout out about. And a lot of people know about our radio station here in Lincoln, Nebraska. So, yeah, it's just an exciting time, It's really an exciting time, especially for you guys. You guys went to the bar. I'm so excited for you guys to have that experience.
Well, good luck with that. And if I could talk you into giving us a plug or two on when you are on the radio between now and then. Because me and Chris gonna have, and Elizabeth too. We gonna have some gas money involved.
Right on.
That's a hike now. But
I just make sure that you guys, your events, when I get back on the air again the next time we do Medium Monday on Kick 96.9, then I'm also going to promote this event for you guys as well. So,
well, we will appreciate the heck out of it. Because this is Chris has done some events, and I've always been down the roster. When I've done events, in other words, I show up and I'm lucky if I get a hotel room, but I've never had to carry an event before, and and this one, the weight's on my shoulders, and like I said, and it's a place that I've been wanting to go. Oh, I have one last question for you before I let you go. Do you have it? Okay, I've heard nothing but good stories about this place. It's apparently fairly easy to get pretty good quality data as far as EVPs, et cetera, et cetera.
Oh, yeah.
Why is this place so relatively unknown?
It's just way out in the middle of nowhere. The actual promotion and the promotionals are usually on Facebook, over the internet and things of that nature. It's just so out. It's so secluded. I mean, honestly, Wes, when you guys finally get there, you're going to be going, really?
No, I won't. I'm a country boy, dear. I'm a country boy. That part now. I'll be tired when I get there, but.
No, I'm just saying you're gonna be going, oh, this is why, because a lot of people don't know it's there. I mean, and by the way, there is a gravesite across the street, and a lot of those entities also go to and from the school. Okay. So they're just across the street from each other. So.
Well, good. I'll have a good place to pray. I like praying at graveyards.
Well, there's a church. There's a church on the corner too, so don't forget. You can always pray.
Well, no, I don't do that kind of prayer. Unless the church is haunted, then that's a whole other story. Okay, everybody, I want to thank you for listening. I want to thank Cheryl and Fletcher for coming on as my guest tonight. And everybody, go to paranormalfiller.com, click the Paranormal Ferrar button, and you can investigate the Ferrar Schoolhouse with Coyote Chris Sutton, Elizabeth Saint of Ghost of Shepherdstown, and myself next month, September 10th. Looking forward to seeing you. Thanks again, Cheryl.